Get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the most awesomest homesteading channel on the planet. I mean the entire planet. That has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading, of course. Homesteading off the grid. Welcome back, as a matter of fact, to another episode of the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch show. I'm going to show you something. Today, we're going to talk about inspiration. All right. Let me see, try to do this properly. Get my 6. Look at that. The potential Bigfoot Sasquatch show. Starring Crazy Lake. It's a pretty good likeness, isn't it? Homesteading off the grid. Shout out to longtime viewer Bella in Texas, who actually drew this and sent this to us more than 3 years ago. You'll notice it's in a frame because this actually hangs on the wall in my office. And going to show you what else Bella sent that hangs on the wall in my office. It's framed. There's 2 of them in here. Let's see, we got the Virginia Cavaliers there, our hometown team here that we root for. Basketball season can be exciting. Football season is always heartbreaking. Well, basketball season is always heartbreaking, especially that first round of the tournament. Football, it's something fun to do with the family on Saturday afternoons, and I'll leave it at that. But look at that. I saw a Crazy Lake, but nobody believed me. So, I have a new hobby. And I'm going to talk to you about it today because I think there might be a little bit of a life lesson in it. Actually, I have 2 new hobbies. What about my new hobby of actually capturing potentially... Did you hear that tree knock? That was a loud, thunderous tree knock. But how about my new habit or new hobby of potentially capturing actual Bigfoot Sasquatches on video every Friday for the last 3 weeks? Isn't that crazy? Did you see the one this past Friday where I was transferring trees? I was actually trimming off limbs in that video. Man, that thing was like, what? 60 or 70 yards behind me. It's like when I had my back to it, it would come out from behind that tree and then go back. The camera caught it. My spidey senses were tingling. I didn't actually see it during the filming of that video, and I think it's because, of course, the angles. Here, the camera was here, I was down here, this thing was over here. So I felt like I could feel that I was being watched, but I couldn't see it because it would only peek out, I guess, when it knew that there was a tree blocking my direct view of it, or him or her or they. But the camera caught it. Wasn't that amazing? So, and then the Friday before that, I was hiking, and that's when I was surrounded by them and actually got stuck out in the woods after dark. And then the Friday before that, walked right past one. It was probably 80 yards down the hill. So keep your eyes open up here, folks. Listen to me, but don't necessarily watch me or look at me unless if I'm showing you something, pictures. Because you never know what you may or may not see back here on the potential Bigfoot Sasquatch show. So here's my new hobby. I've actually begun to draw. I think I mentioned this a couple times. I'm going to show you. I was inspired. 3 people inspired me, and it's been an inspirational journey of over about 3 years because Bella sent me these in 2021. It's now 2024. Here's another one of Bella's artwork. And folks, make sure to let Bella know in the comment section that you appreciate her artwork. But see, she says here on this one, I'm gone like 2020. So she sent them in 2021. Bella Algeria. I'm always afraid I'm mispronouncing her last name. So there's a Bigfoot Sasquatch. I like this one. Tag, you're it. Your turn to hide. Once upon a time I could read backwards, but now that I'm older, not so much. But isn't that a nice Bigfoot Sasquatch? And she did this with pencil. Doesn't matter what you think. My name is not Daryl. Here's another one. Just a couple more. I showed these on a video when she sent them to me a few years ago, but they're worth showing again. And a lot of new viewers on here never saw them. Don't feed the Squatch. Get my 6. Isn't that a nice one? And that's all done by freehand. Isn't that amazing? And look at the trees. Look at the detail of those trees in the background. And then y'all Yeti for 2021. That's nice, isn't it? Oh, I like that. Look at the snow in the background and the shading, the shadowing. So Bella drew these, sent them to us years ago, 3 years ago now. And I remember looking at those thinking, wow, what amazing talent she has. And wow, I wish I could do that. And Bella, I believe, is a little bit older than me. I'm 50 now. I think she's in her 50s already. And so I thought, man, you can't do that. Look how good that is. And she's probably been doing this for many, many years. And she actually told us all here in the comment section, I'm not disclosing any information that she hasn't put out there publicly in the comment section, that she used to draw all the time, used to do art all the time, and she got out of it. She got discouraged. She went through some real life issues. She's a cancer survivor. She had an unfortunate negative turn in the relationship with her mother. And so she got depressed. She got down. That was a howl. Did you hear that howl? All right. So Bella told me, though, that through some of the videos I've made here on this YouTube channel, the most awesome homesteading channel on YouTube that has nothing to do with homesteading, that she felt inspired and she got back into her artwork. And I think it was right around the time that I was training to... This is how crazy I am. This is how creepy it is out here in these woods, especially since I've captured Bigfoot Sasquatch on camera every Friday for the last 3 weeks. I was turning my head a little bit like that, and just the sound that my toboggan was making on the top of my pullover sounded like footprints, and it freaked me out. Can you guys see directly above me? Okay, there's a pileated woodpecker, or at least that's what they want us to think. So anyway, yeah, I was training to make yet another comeback in distance running. I was coming out of retirement. As it was my goal to become the fastest man over 50 in Central Virginia, and so I was showcasing that. Showed the 30-pound weight loss, all of which I've gained back this winter alone in the Philippines. But I'm working towards taking it back off. Listen, you only fail when you stop, when you give up, when you quit. Okay, so I gained a lot of the weight back, but I'm not accepting it, and I'm going to continue. I'm going to train again this spring. I have started training already. I'm going to lose it again. Okay. What do they say? You only drown in water if you stay there. You don't drown because you fall in water. You drown because you stay there. So anyway, she mentioned this. It inspired her to get back into art. And so I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, I wish I could do that. But there's no way. There's no way. I'm too old. I'm almost 50 now. Well, then I got disappointed. I got kind of bummed when I actually started competing again as a professional amateur runner, distance runner. I mean, I trained for 2 different Olympic trials back in the day. Never qualified, but trained for them. Gave it everything I got. So I gave it everything I had on this comeback too, and I was getting blown away, not just by dudes over 50, but by women over 50. And, people, I've said that on here before, and people are like, you misogynist pig, what makes you think that? No, I'm just being factual. And it was like, I was getting beat by college girls. It was like, how did women get so fast in the last 20 years since I retired, my last retirement? But they have somehow. So I kind of got discouraged and kind of got out of it again. And I would go back to thinking about I should draw. Maybe that should be my new hobby now that I'm not spending, 3 hours or 4 hours a day training. I'm only doing 1 hour a day exercising again like a normal person. And I thought, nah, I'm too old. So we were in the Philippines this winter, and I have two little nieces in particular that I'm going to talk about. I have tons of nieces and nephews. Goodness gracious. There are 10 siblings in my wife Dearly's family. Once upon a time, there were 12. Unfortunately, 2 of them passed away. One from Dingy when he was 3 or 4 years old, like 30 years ago. And then her sister, older sister, Connie, while giving childbirth a few years ago. A lot of you remember that if you were following the channel. The baby is doing very well. His name's Andy. And he's actually being raised by Dearly's brother, Abel, for the most part. And some of the other siblings. It's really amazing how everybody's just jumped right in there and taking care of this kid who was left motherless at childbirth. But he's got a big sister, 2 big sisters, and a big brother. But one of those sisters is one of the girls I'm going to talk about. Her name is Cat. She's 10 years old. She's just as adorable as she could be. And then I have another 10-year-old niece over there in a different part of the country named Leica, same age as Cat. She's also the daughter of one of Dearly's sisters. Both of these girls are into art. They're just into art. And so we spent time with the family over there so much. And we would say, hey, guys, there's something creepy back here. Hearing like howls, heckles, sounded like a jackal. Well, I got a crazy jackal story for you. I'm going to cross my fingers and try to remember to tell it. So we'd take a few kids at a time, or one cat. It was her birthday, and me and Dearly said, hey, let's go over here to the mall and get you something for your birthday. So we got her a backpack and a bunch of art supplies, both her and Leica down in Mindanao. Cat was in Manila. We did this with both of them as we did with the other kids. But they both wanted art supplies. So we got them all these art supplies, colored pencils, markers, art paper, drawing paper, sketch paper, crayons, just everything you could think of. And they loved it. And when we did that, both times, I remember going back home after that. And of course, we get in there and the girls, and it was 2 separate occasions, but it was the same thing each time. They just break into their art supplies and they start drawing. And I'm hanging out with the guys, my in-laws, the cousins, the brothers. We dropped them in-laws. I call these guys my brothers and my cousins. We're hanging out. And then my little niece, but in both situations, come up and say, look, Tito means uncle. Or look, Tito, Kevin. And they hold up these pictures that they didn't spend 10 minutes drawing that were just totally, completely awesome. And in my mind, I said, wait a minute. Maybe I should get into this. Okay, they're really good and they do this all the time. That's where they're good at it. But they're only 10 years old. It's not like Bella, who sent me, these wonderful pictures, who I thought, well, she's been doing it for decades. These little girls have barely been alive a decade. So that was inspiration right there again. And I started thinking about it. I'm like, I am older now, going down a hill now. Lived a half a century, hopefully, there's a tree, knock on some wood. Hopefully live another half century. I've got more time on my hands now than I probably ever have. So I thought, why not get into it? So I did. And so I'm just going to show you a couple of things here that I've actually drawn just in the past week. So I went to Staples. I had to get a new printer. And while I was at Staples, I got a 50-pack of Crayola colored pencils for $10. There's definitely footsteps in here. Something is in here with me. So keep getting my 6. I think this was $10. Some heavy duty drawing paper. So I came up here in the woods where I make these videos. I watched some YouTube videos. Everything I've learned how to do so far, I've learned from YouTube as far as the drawing goes. And they were like, you know, just try to get warmed up. Get used to the feel of a pencil. Make some lines, make some circles, make some ovals, make some loops, work on shading, all this stuff. So I came up here and I did all this. All right. And of course, when I went back down to the house and showed my wife and kid, they laughed at me. They said, keep it up. And well, this was very discouraging because I'm like, that looks like crap. That's terrible. And then so for a few days, I didn't touch it. But then I thought, no, you know what? Give it a little bit more of a chance. So they have all these tutorials on YouTube, all these wonderfully talented artists. And Bella, if you're watching, shoot, you might want to consider this for a YouTube channel, or anybody that's an artist or has any sort of skill or craft. People ask me all the time, they say to me all the time that, man, I wish I was like a social media dude so I could spend my winters in other countries and sleep until noon if I want and stay up till midnight if I want and not have to answer to anybody if I want. Well, I always tell them, why don't you just do it? And they're like, well, because I don't know what to do. I don't have a Bigfoot in my woods like you do, potentially. Hey, can you draw? Can you fix things? Can you paint? So anyway, there's some people doing it. And there's this young woman that I've been watching. I can't remember the name of the channel. But I thought, okay, I like fall. I like Halloween. I'll draw a pumpkin. And so I watched this video and I was like, there's no way I'm going to do it. So what I did though is I just went step by step as she showed it. And I made this pumpkin and I'm going to show you this pumpkin. Okay. I'm going to try not to show you the other things on this page just yet. Look at that. That's my first official colored pencil drawing. What do you think? Yeah, there it is. It's not perfectly symmetrical, but no pumpkin is in real life. You know what amazed me about this is the color orange was never used. I've been amazed about how layering works, and anybody out there who does art, you know what I'm talking about. That was like 6 or 8 different colors put on top of each other to make it look like it's orange, but I never used the color orange. But I did that, and I was like, hey, not bad. So then the next day, I decided to draw a maple leaf. Let me think. I thought, well, you know, the blending is kind of rough. And again, the way they say it's a poor musician that blames his instrument. I'm not blaming the Crayola colored pencils, but to my understanding from listening to these videos on YouTube, they're pretty much like the lowest quality you can get if you want to take the artwork seriously. So should I remain consistent with this in time, I'll get a higher quality pencil set. And they're not that expensive. I think you can get for 120 different colors of a high quality set for like $40. It's just, I'm putting it off to kind of give myself the motivation to continue with this. You know what I mean? Like that's my reward. If I do this another week, 10 days, 2 weeks, then I'll get the higher quality. Now on the 3rd day, I kind of surprised myself. I drew an apple. Where do you see my apple? Okay. So there's the pumpkin, there's the leaf. Here comes the apple. Look at that. That's not so bad, no? Drawn with Crayola colored pencils that I got at Staples for $10. It's a 50 pack. There's 50 different colors in it. That's the first apple I've ever drawn in my life, and it actually looks like an apple. So this was like 3 days worth of work. And I got a couple more, okay? That's my neighbor's dog. He's about a mile away. There's nothing but woods in between us. And they've been seeing these things too. And so it makes me wonder, what's that dog barking at? It is getting dark. The veil's growing thin. So keep getting my 6, okay? So the next day I drew a pear. Let me show you that this was yesterday. There's my pear. Okay, and then today I drew a banana. Look at that. What do you think? So this is because what I'm doing is I'm just as when I train as a professional amateur athlete, I set up a training schedule. I set up a routine. I'm doing the same thing with this. I have a guilty pleasure. I take a nap every afternoon. Rarely do I miss it. I get up early. I train physically. Today I rode my mountain bike 12 miles, and then I went for a 1-hour walk with my wife and son in town because it was such a beautiful spring day here in Central Virginia today. So we went into the People's Republic of Charlottesville and walked for an hour. The dog's getting closer, which means whatever the heck it's barking at is too. So here's 5 days worth of work. There's some fruit, and here's these. So here's my point. Here's the life lesson of this. It's kind of twofold. We can find inspiration just about anywhere as long as we're looking, we're paying attention, as long as we're being observant. We're keeping our eyes open. We're keeping our ears open. I was inspired. 3 years ago, I was inspired by Bella, one of my viewers, who said that I inspired her. Well, Bella, you inspired me back. I just didn't talk about it because I hadn't begun to take action. And then, of course, again, this winter, I became inspired. I got inspired by my 2 10-year-old little nieces, Kat and Laika, who were, at 10 years old, are better than this. I mean, they're already better. They can do stuff with markers and their colored pencils that looks better than this. And so I thought, hey, if they can do it, so can I. So I know that 74% of you who are watching this channel are either my age or older. So the message to you is, if there's something out there that you've been wanting to do and you've just been putting it off, and now that you are older, you're finding that you have a little more time, maybe you've got, some more resources, do it. Just do it. Who cares what it is? It's never too late. You're not too old. I mean, look at that banana. I feel like eating that banana, don't you? And that pear, especially that apple. I've been doing this for less than 1 week. Okay? So whatever it is you feel that you want to do, you've been putting off, my personal recommendation to you would be some form of physical activity if you're not doing it already. Get out there and move, even if it's just planting a garden this spring. That's exercise. That's a lot of work. Dearly's been working in her garden, and she'll go for an hour and then she's worn out. She's got to go lay down, and scroll on her phone. So that's the message. If you saw anything behind me, make sure to listen. People say I come up with clickbait titles. No, I don't. The titles are real. Look. Watch. Here's proof. OMG. Bigfoot Sasquatch is right behind him. It's not clickbait, brah. It's fact. Here's a Bigfoot Sasquatch drawn by Bella, and it was right behind me. Oh my gosh, did you hear that? That's close. So I'm getting. Hey, the good news is this week we're doing more pruning of trees, thickening thickets and hedges, and working on transporting trees and all this stuff, because that's what I do this time of year. Let's see if we can get this sucker again on camera this week, and hopefully it doesn't take us till Friday. See you for more next time from here at the greatest homesteading channel on the entire planet, and probably in the universe, like the whole thing that has nothing to do with homesteading. Homesteading off the grid. Oh, the jackal story. I was in Iraq. It was like 3 o'clock in the morning. We always did night missions. For some reason, we had that night off. Well, of course, I was awake because our days were nights and our nights were days. So I was going out, and one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my life was smoke. Okay, I smoked while I was in Iraq, and it took me a couple of years to be able to quit after I got back. But I did. It's been years. So when we would go outside to smoke, there was a smoking area, and they were in these cement pillars because we were always getting mortared on the FOB, Forward Operating Base, there in Mosul, launching mortars all day, all night. So you'd be in there smoking, so if a mortar hit, you were protected by the concrete bunker. Well, I was in there, and the ground was covered with gravel, so I'm smoking like a dummy, and I hear gravel crunching. So I'm assuming one of my battle buddies is coming in to smoke with me. So I turn around, and I'm looking at eye level, and there's no one there. And then I detect movement, so I look down, and there was a jackal. Yeah, a wild jackal from the Arabian desert in Iraq had somehow made its way on post. I would later find out they were all over the post. We just never saw them during the day because they were nocturnal. Of course, so were we, my unit. So it walked in, got up to about 5 feet from me and was looking up at me. And I said, "Hey, buddy." And it just turned around and very slowly walked out. It's one of the most unique experiences I've probably ever had. So there, I'll end with that. So now, you guys have a great evening. See you next time for more.